Well, so we're here to discuss a subject that touches the hearts of many people. We're talking sickle cell, but it's also focused or premise on a story that happened over the weekend about a sickling student.
We're told that a sickling student of St. Augustine's College at Cape Coast in the Central Region has died after being denied of exit by school authorities to seek medical attention. Medical reports suggest that the student had not been well for some time and made a number of attempts to seek permission to go home, but all to no avail. His condition worsened on Thursday night, July 7, and he died at the hospital after his colleagues had rushed him there. Even though school authorities are tight-lipped, a source in the school confirmed the incident to a local radio station in Accra. That's Class News. But subsequently, we've also been told that this is not exactly true. It's only because the boy did not disclose his condition to the doctor who was taking care of him after he had seen him for the second time. But what's most important to us here on the show is how much of a situation like that, as a parent or a guardian, should you disclose to school authorities when you're sending your children to school? And that's why we have joining us via phone Professor Ohene Frimpong. He's a Director Emeritus of the Comprehensive Sickle Cell Center at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia, and he's joining us via phone. It's a pleasure, really. Hello, Prof. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
So first question, if I'm taking my child to school and he or she has sickle cell, what do I have to say to school authorities?
I think it's important for parents to let the school authorities know about the child's condition, and also to advise them if the child needs any special medication, either on a routine basis or when the child is not feeling well. But even more importantly, I think the family also needs to introduce the child's healthcare team, the doctor and nurse that follow the child, to the health authority so that they know whom to call if the child falls ill. People with sickle cell disease can get very sick very fast, and it is at those times that they need those who understand the condition, and especially those who know them well, to advise on what to do.
Must that child also talk to friends, let them know about his condition?
Absolutely. I think that is very important. Sometimes people are a little bit worried that if they tell authorities about their child's health condition, that the child may be stigmatized and allowed the same opportunities as other children. But it's very important for a disease like sickle cell disease, which is not one that one would always self-manage, to be sure that the authorities know what to do and not to make any errors.
Can one suddenly, somebody who has sickle cell suddenly die, like in this condition? I mean, we may not know the exact facts, but can you fall ill and then the next minute you're gone?
Yes, there are a number of complications of sickle cell disease that are unfortunately associated with sudden death. And a child at that age could have either a blood clot or a bone marrow clot go into the lungs that can lead to sudden death. Could have massive stroke, and that can lead to sudden death. Or sometimes for a child who is sick for a few days, it's possible that it could be an infection from the common bacteria that can overwhelm people with sickle cell disease, so that after a very short illness, if they do not receive the proper treatment for that infection, that they could die.
What difference would it make if you disclose to a doctor who is looking after you, a doctor who is not your regular doctor, that you've got sickle cell? What difference would that make?
Oh, it's absolutely crucial, because that can lead to serious complications or even fatalities in sickle cell disease. They look just like any other illness. A child with fever, a healthy child with fever, it's not a life-threatening situation. They may have a virus infection, they may have malaria, they may have even a mild bacterial infection. the same infections in a child with sickle cell disease can lead to death in a matter of hours. So if the doctor doesn't know, or particularly those adults who are taking care of the patient don't know that this mild illness can lead to critical outcomes in a very period of time, unintentionally, people will be making very, very serious mistakes.
But you know, there are some children, even adults, who got sickle cell, but they can do everything. I mean, they are absolutely normal. Sometimes when you feel that way, then you don't think you should disclose anything to anybody.
Well, that is a mistake. In young children with sickle cell disease, we know how dramatically ill they can be in a few hours. But even in older patients, 85% of the time, when a person with sickle cell disease dies, a month before the death, the doctors, the family had absolutely no concern about the child. So most of their deaths are related to acute illness. And only about 15% of the deaths are something that is chronic, like somebody's kidney has not been working well, needs to go on dialysis, or has developed some other complication of the disease over a long period of time. Most deaths in sickle cell disease are rather sudden. A few days of illness can lead to death. So even if you're feeling well, every day you have sickle cell disease, it doesn't mean your disease has all of a sudden improved. It has not improved. You've just been fortunate that you haven't had a major complication. So that's why we stress that even when you're well, you should go for your regular checkups, your blood counts to be checked, so that when you fall sick, we can detect the difference very quickly and react to it. The acute illnesses are not different when they occur in healthy people or in sickle cell disease patients. The management in sickle cell disease is very different because we understand the high risk of major and life-threatening progression of those complications.
Finally, Prof, you're here for a reason. Tell us about this forum that's happening, the reason you're in the country.
Today we are starting the 6th International African Symposium on Sickle Cell Disease. This is in a series that we started in 1995 and have been doing it every 5 years. And so we have people coming from all over Africa and some from outside Africa to participate in the conference. Starts today. We end Thursday, and then we have a session in Kumasi on Friday. The conference proper will be held at Labadi Beach Hotel, and today we start with a lab demonstration at Noguchi Institute. We have a special patient and parent day today to teach our families about what they should look for. There is a special workshop for nurses today. And tomorrow is the scientific portions where everybody will be together from the morning. And that will be held tomorrow, Wednesday, and Thursday at Labadi Beach Hotel.
Okay.
People can still come to the Labadi Beach Hotel and register to participate in the symposium, especially health workers. This year we are concentrating on gaps in knowledge that we had identified in a series of workshops that we did around the country. And so we want to help our health workers learn about modern management of sickle cell disease in this symposium.
Okay. All right, Prof, we'll catch up with you at the Labadi Beach Hotel and have a sit down with you. But I appreciate your time this morning on the phone. That's Professor Ohene Frimpong, Director Emeritus. Okay, so that's Director Emeritus of the Comprehensive Sickle Cell Center at the Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. There will be more on this. Trust us will bring you a lengthy conversation on this. But let's move to some other issues. Ghana's parliament is set to lead a forum to get inputs on a plan towards amending the 1992 constitution to have presidential and parliamentary elections held in November instead of December. The one-day forum will bring together representatives of the various political parties and petitioners to discuss details of the historic amendment before Parliament sits on the matter. Our parliamentary correspondent Elton Brobe is on the phone lines. He's going to be interacting with Roland Walker on what's going to be happening today. Roland.
Now, Elton, what should we be expecting from this very move by Parliament today?
Well, Roland, this is part of the process to get this particular issue done with. Remember that the Attorney General and Minister of Justice last 2 weeks presented to Parliament an instrument asking the House to go through the process to amend the 1992 Constitution to enable the election held in November instead of December. Now, the reasons for this particular process flows out of a recommendation by a committee set up by the Electoral Commission to come up with reforms that will make our elections better. Now, the committee, in its recommendation to the country, said that the elections should rather be moved from December to November to allow for ample time for smooth transition. They are also of the view that making the election holding the election on a particular day instead of a date will help address religious and other concerns. So, based on that, the Electoral Commission wrote to the government proposing for this particular November instead of December, and flowing out of that, the government, through the Attorney General, laid before Parliament an instrument asking for the amendment of the Constitution to enable that take effect. Now, by the laws of the country, are going by Article 291 of the 1992 Constitution, the Speaker of Parliament, upon the receipt of that, request from government, forwarded the document to the Council of State, and they were given within 30 days to respond to Parliament with advice. They did so last week, Tuesday, and the Speaker again referred the document together with the advice of the Council of State to the subsidiary, to the Legal and Constitutional Committee of Parliament, for them to begin the process of, consulting on the matter before the plenary of the House takes a decision on this particular matter. Now, they were expected to hold regional forums across the country to get inputs of Ghanaians and identifiable groups so that this particular amendment can take place. But looking at the time with which we have from now till the election date, they are, in their own wisdom, decided that they would rather hold a one-day forum. And that's how come today they are meeting on this particular issue. They are bringing together political parties, stakeholders, and other identifiable groups to make presentations on the Constitution Amendment Bill 2016. And the bill is seeking to amend Article 1124 of the Constitution to make provision for parliamentary and presidential elections to be held well ahead of the expiration of the tenure of Parliament to ensure an effective and smooth transition. So today we are waiting to hear a presentation where the Council of State has given their backing to the proposal, which means that the consideration or this public forum will also come up with a position, and then the committee will present their report together with the recommendations from the Council of State and the outcome of this particular forum for the House to take a decision. The House will require 2/3 of all members of Parliament before this amendment can take place.
And we know that, of course, ultimately this will come to the plenary. But prior to now, we had some divided opinions, mostly speculated by the media as to coming from either side of the political divide in Parliament. Do you think, based on your own analysis and what you've heard in your interactions, this very bill has the consensus of all sides of Parliament?
Well, the minority, even before the proposal was made their position clear on the matter that it was not going to be a simple work on the part. They were going to make their inputs clear on this particular matter. I remember I spoke to the Deputy Minority Leader who made it clear that they had issues, and if this is how the Electoral Commission wants to go, then they may take a stand against this particular motion to amend the Constitution. Their main, the issue is that Parliament requires 2/3 of all members of Parliament. Even though the NDC majority in the House, they have the numbers, it is not up to the 2/3. They require at least 10 members of the minority side before the required number can be attained for the amendment to take place. So this is an issue that you require the support of the minority. Otherwise, it will not fly on the floor of Parliament. And the referral itself, so many concerns were raised. We are waiting to hear what their issues will be on this particular forum, that is, if they are able to make their presentation. And then on the floor, the matter will be put to a vote. Two-thirds is what is required. No group in Parliament has that two-thirds majority to get this through. They need each other before this can take place. I'm told that consultations have been ongoing. We are waiting to see, because ultimately this will benefit the political parties themselves. By looking at the posture of the MPP in recent time regarding their dealings with the Electoral Commission, some people have the view that this is a perfect time to change the Electoral Commission. Sometimes, if they want to go by this posture, then it will be difficult for the majority to have their way through for the first time in Parliament. But if they are able to build consensus on this particular matter, then I expect the minority to add their numbers to the majority to have this particular amendment through.
For all the views that we've had in Parliament, particularly concerning this very bill, how is this very scenario of the very uncertainty and also the kind of distrust that you tend to find from the political state actors or non-state actors against the Electoral Commission feeding into the views that are emanating as to whether they are ready, whether there could be a likely change of events in the electoral calendar, and also the pertinent issues about the credibility of the voters register?
Yeah, I mean, you made the point quite clear. Some people are of the view that though we are making reform, the reform should rather take place in the next election, not this one. They are looking at 2020, so we can make all the provisions, but we should allow these provisions to take effect in 2020 because of time. Now, last Friday, the majority leader in Parliament laid a paper regarding the regulations of the elections, and this one, it requires 21 sitting days before it can mature. Now, what information I've been taking from some members on the subsidiary legislation that the EC may come to Parliament today through the majority leader to withdraw that particular regulation they laid on Friday, and then bring a new one on Tuesday because of some anomalies identified in this document. If that should happen, it will mean that the time they require cannot take place within this particular system, because Parliament is expected to go on recess on the 29th of this month. I was told last Friday that the Speaker is considering members sitting on Saturdays and Sundays to get this particular regulation mature. If what I'm hearing is true, and they come before the House today to withdraw the document, it means that the EC will be in a very tight corner to get this regulation to enable us to hold the elections in November. So all that they are talking about is that, I mean, the reforms are good. It will help in a smooth transition, but maybe not in 2016, but rather in 2020. The EC, I'm told, says that it is ready to go through with some of these things. The political actors, especially those on the minorities, appear to have issues with every step taken by the Electoral Commission. If they want to adopt this posture, then I don't see how this amendment can take place if they don't add their numbers to what the majority already have, because they think that the EC has, not been timely in its dealing with Parliament. It has always come to the House at the last hour, and it may not augur well for a smooth organization of the elections. We have a regulation, because without a regulation, we cannot have an election in this country, and this regulation is begging for time.
Well, very interesting points you make there. We have to let you go, but then do you get the sense from all sides of the House that there's some kind of animosity towards the Electoral Commission or not?
Well, it depends on which side you are. If you are on the minority side, you will view every step taken by the Electoral Commission with suspicion, because you are a major stakeholder in election. But the majority side, they appear to be spread with whatever the EC is doing, and they will always be the ones supporting the EC on every step that it has taken. Indeed, if you want to take this election regulation as an issue, you will realize that this particular committee is chaired by the minority person. What I've picked from the committee is that even at the committee level, they had disagreement with the EC now allowing for manual voting, because the previous CI 75 was clear that no verification, no vote. Now, what this particular CI, which is before Parliament, is seeking to do is to do away with a verification. That is, if after going through the process, the machine does not verify you, the polling agents can let you fill a form and then you can go ahead and vote manually. This, I'm told, was rejected by all the political parties, but it found expression in the document that was presented to Parliament. And some have issue with it. Some are even argue with that there is no punishment regime for presiding officers who will be supervising the various polling stations. And that means that in the event that they misconduct themselves, they will not be held responsible for their actions. And these are some of the arguments that they put forth. My information is that this is influencing the decision for the AC to come back to the House today to withdraw that document and then lay a new one on Tuesday. The minority says that the EC is not being forthright with most of the things that is contained in the recommendation by the committee was set up to come up with electoral reform. They think that the EC is doing things on its own without consulting other people. And this will be the right time for them to send a message across that you cannot have your way all the time. If consensus is not well, cemented, I see the EC going through difficult times from now to the 29th of July when the House goes on recess.
Well, thank you very much. Elton John Brobbey, giving us the latest feedback as far as that very conference or stakeholder engagement that is taking place as part of making sure that we get all the stakeholders on the side of Parliament following that very amendment that the Electoral Commission is seeking to change the date as to when we vote from December 7 to November 7. We hope that all goes well too. Because we know the level of difficulties that the Electoral Commission seems to be going through with the perception of that level of distrust that, so to speak, the last couple of months, if not the last year, has characterized the discussions when it comes to the issue of the Commission.
I have a feeling that for now, because of everything that's happening, everything that's happened in the past week, the past 2 weeks, and all the talks with the Supreme Court ruling, and the things that the Electoral Commission has to do before the election proper, I have a feeling that majority would say, for that reason, let's hold on to the December this year. Let's do this amendment another time so we can bring the election to November. And I think that will not be a bad decision because it will give the Electoral Commission enough time to carry out everything that they have to do before the elections. What do you say?
Well, we'll see how that goes. We have been used to December 7th, so
yeah,
it's just...
it won't be bad for us to do another December 7 and then come back with a better plan in the next 4 years.
All right, we'll see how that goes.
All right, so that's related to our election conversation. Still to come here on the show, this thing is still with us. And I don't want to say it, I want to show you. So here we go.
For Yoruba land, and on a good yo, for Yoruba land, I go bend my ass, I go shit. I go come out away from this shit. Him go bend the ass, him go shit. Him go come out away from him shit. Him shit go be the last way him go.
It's called open defecation. It still happens. If you are watching me somehow, you did it this morning in the open, shame on you. But you know, experts are saying that it will take about 500 years. If we continue the way we're going, it will take about 500 years for us to eradicate this. Yeah. Do you do it?
Open defecation? Have I done it before? Yes. But not within my household. Not because I lived in my house, but maybe I went to, I was on the road somewhere doing journalism, so I did open defecation, yes. I've done it before.
I'm going to catch this confession and put it on Facebook and WhatsApp.
I've done it before.
It will trend.
On the road. Yeah.
Roland openly did it on the road. Shame on you for what you did in the past. All right, but...